Every day, you are bombarded by things that distract you. If you could take one of those things away, would you? When taking away the distractions caused by the other gender, schools, teachers, and students benefit substantially. Our first argument is that single-gender schools are more beneficial for students and their grades because there is less chance of distraction. Secondly, it is easier for teachers to create more individualized lesson plans for class each day. Lastly, students will be more confident in themselves, and as a result of that, they will take more risks. Once you listen to both sides of this argument, it would be up to you to decide which classroom would be better for students' learning.
Single-gender schools are more valuable to students for many reasons, but first, because they will be less distracted, which will lead to better grades and actions. Offering single-sex classrooms in public schools is the cheapest, most effective, and simplest innovation available to improve achievement, particularly in math and science. Stated by Andre Boyd and Robert Kirschbaum, researchers for the GoGale.com database. Single-sex schools have recently been placed in Austin, Texas, with great results so far. Sears Issue researcher Melissa Taboda reported from these schools. She said, girls had some of the smallest percentages of students failing classes among the district's middle schools, as well as at the Boys Academy, there was a 33% drop in disciplinary referrals. She also reported on the topic that students in the female academy did not worry about boys, or who was going out with who, drastically eliminating distraction during the school day. As this evidence shows, single-gender schools would help immensely in reducing student distraction and boosting grade averages.
Boys and girls tend to have different learning styles, and teachers often don't have the best way to address their needs during a 40-minute class. In single-gender schools, teachers can create more individualized lesson plans. In an article in Weekly Reader, it said that boys and girls tend to have different learning styles and perform better in single-gender classrooms. One teacher says that she is able to use a team-based lesson plan, and the boys really like the competitiveness. They can also excel in their classes if they focus more on subjects that they struggle in. Boys tend to have a harder time in reading, writing, and the arts. If they have classes that focus more on those, they're able to get a better education. Girls tend to have a harder time in math, science, and geography. So if their classes are more focused on improving the knowledge in those specific subjects, girls are able to do better as well. Overall, students will improve their grades as well as their self-confidence. Confidence is key, especially during those uncomfortable and rough middle school and high school years. So if switching districts to single-gender schools will make students more confident and allow them to take more risks in class, then the solution seems obvious. Do it. Kids benefit from single-gender schools because it is during this time that kids struggle most with their self-image, according to Fraser Harrison, researcher of the topic. Being surrounded by those of the same gender as you helps promote inner confidence that could otherwise be non-existent because of the judgment by the other gender. Also stated by Harrison, single-gender schools provide a positive environment because you're not so worried about going all out, meaning that you can share your ideas and opinions of topics discussed in class without the fear of others thinking that you are a try-hard or know-it-all, as most of the opposite gender would generally do.
Grow. That is what school is supposed to let you do. But how can you be expected to grow when you are being forced to conform and be segregated from others? We believe gender-separated schools are not the way to educate children. First of all, the students are still learning all the same material, and there is no evidence that they do better academically. Secondly, not all students fall under gender classifications or stereotypes, and they can feel excluded or ignored in classrooms that don't let them be who they are. Lastly, the real world isn't separated by gender, and separating them during school will only limit students' perspectives and keep them from learning and growing from the viewpoints of others. Our first argument is that students in single-gender schools are learning the same material. Therefore, splitting them up will have little to no effect on how they do academically. There is no evidence that single-gender classroom success is due to their single-gender organization, as author Chandler Michael Allison of the Washington Post writes. Another reason that they should not be separated is that boys and girls bring different ideas to the lesson, Weekly Reading explains. So, if boys and girls are in separate classrooms, they are missing different viewpoints and loss of insight. Also, separating schools by gender enforces gender roles and stereotypes, which stop kids from reaching their full potential by restricting their activities, friends, hobbies, mannerisms, and favorite color based on gender. As observed in several sex-separated schools, the absence of voice appeared to make sex roles more important, not less important. The author, Salone of the Montreal Gazette, states, "This can restrict students' ideas of what is okay for them to do. We shouldn't be restricting them at all." Evidence is more clear that separate schooling increased gender stereotyping and sexism, says Chandler Michael Allison of the Washington Post. An example of this stereotyping could be that girls wear dresses and boys wear pants. But many people don't feel that they belong to their assigned gender or just aren't comfortable wearing pants and or skirts. This means that using the idea that separating schools by gender will encourage kids to be themselves around people of the same gender isn't true at all. Lastly, working together at schools helps them prepare for real-life situations. We see this all the time in our daily lives. In stores, employees don't have all men working in one store and all women in another. They work together. Another example is at South Middle School. The teachers here are both male and female. We have 21 male teachers and 57 female teachers. And even though it's mostly females who work in the building, we also have many male teachers, and they are not separated from others. Separation could also encourage the idea that men and women are not equal. Already without separation, men and women are not treated the same in the workforce. For every $1 a woman makes, a man makes 23 cents more. Harmful stereotypes promote this. We cannot expect people to be successful in the workforce without letting them work together from a young age.